14 hours had passed since the standoff began. Minho sat on the floor of the corridor with his back against the wall. Around him, hundreds of humans maintained their position. Some sat, some stood, all linked together, forming a barrier that refused to break. The station's artificial lights had cycled to night mode hours ago, but nobody left. People brought food and water from their apartments. Parents brought their children. Old and young, everyone who called Threshold 7 home came to stand together. Inside apartment 7D, Yuna sat with Hana sleeping in her arms. The cub had been frightened by all the noise and people, but Yuna had calmed her with soft words and gentle touches. Now Hana slept peacefully, unaware that her existence had started a revolution. Jinho walked over and sat down next to Minho. He handed him a cup of coffee. "Still no response from Earth?" "The ambassador is on her way," Minho said. "She should arrive within the hour. But the broadcast has reached 17 different planets. Everyone in the sector has seen what Korval did." "The council issued a statement," Jinho said. He showed Minho his data pad. "They're calling it misinformation. They say we're terrorists trying to destabilize galactic peace." Minho laughed bitterly. "Of course they are, but look at this." Jinho scrolled down. Responses from other species. Petitions. Protests. There are demonstrations happening on 6 different worlds demanding investigation into council breeding programs. Minho took the data pad and read. Messages of support from across the galaxy, many from Vrix themselves, saying they never knew what happened to cubs in the military facilities. Others from species who had lost family members to council policies. The broadcast had touched something deep in people everywhere. "We started something," Minho said quietly. "Something bigger than just Hana." "Yeah," Jinho agreed. "And we have no idea how it ends." Korval had retreated hours ago, taking his enforcers with him. He had sealed himself in his office, probably communicating with council leadership. Minho knew the Vrix was planning something. This wasn't over. A commotion at the end of the corridor made everyone look up. New people arriving, pushing through the crowd. But these weren't station residents. They wore formal diplomatic uniforms. Ambassador Soman Park led the group. She was in her 60s, gray-haired and stern-faced, but her eyes were kind. She had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 20 years. Behind her walked several aides and, surprisingly, a handful of Vrix. The crowd parted to let them through. Ambassador Park stopped in front of Minho and looked down at him with an unreadable expression. "Officer Minho," she said. "You've caused quite a situation." Minho stood up quickly. "Ambassador Park, I can explain." She held up a hand. "I've seen the broadcast, all of it. The footage, the medical records, everything Dr. Kang documented. I've spent the last 6 hours in emergency meetings with Earth government and council representatives." She paused. "You did the right thing." Minho felt relief flood through him. "Thank you, ma'am." "Don't thank me yet," Ambassador Park said. "This is far from over. The council is demanding Dr. Kang's arrest and the confiscation of the cub. They're threatening to expel humanity from the council entirely if we don't comply." "We won't comply," Minho said firmly. "No, we won't," the ambassador agreed. "But we need to be smart about this." "May I speak with Dr. Kang?" Yuna heard her name and came to the door, still holding Hana. The cub was awake now, watching everything with her 3 curious eyes. Ambassador Park's expression softened when she saw them. "Dr. Kang," the ambassador said gently. "I'm Soman Park. I want to help you." "How?" Yuna asked. She sounded exhausted. "Earth government is proposing a new law, the Cross-Species Guardianship Protocol. It would allow individuals to care for alien children who have been abandoned, abused, or are in danger. It would supersede council regulations regarding species-specific care facilities." "The council will never agree to that," Yuna said. "They don't have a choice," Ambassador Park replied. "Your broadcast reached too many people. The public outcry is too strong. If the council refuses, humanity withdraws from the council entirely. And we're not the only ones. 4 other species have indicated they'll follow our lead." One of the Vrix behind the ambassador stepped forward. He was older, his dark fur streaked with gray. "I am Commander Juwan," he said. His voice was heavy with emotion. "I serve in the Vrix military. I didn't know about the cubs. None of us in the lower ranks knew. When your broadcast reached our homeworld, there were riots. Our people are demanding answers." "The military breeding program was kept secret even from most Vrix," another Vrix added. "Only the highest council members knew the truth. Now the truth is exposed, our species is in chaos. Many of us had cubs taken from us, told they died of natural causes. Now we know they were murdered. Commander Jiwan looked at Hana with visible pain. My daughter had a cub 20 years ago. A female marked combat unsuitable. We were told she died within days, but now I wonder if she was killed like this little one almost was. Hana looked up at the large Vrix and made a small chirping sound. To everyone's surprise, Commander Jiwan chirped back. It was a gentle sound, nothing like the roars Vrix used in battle. She's beautiful, the commander said quietly. Healthy and happy. You saved her, Dr. Kang. You showed us what we should have been doing all along, caring for our cubs instead of treating them like weapons. Tears ran down Yuna's face. I just wanted her to live. That's all. I just wanted her to have a chance. She has more than a chance now, Ambassador Park said. She has a future, and you've given hope to thousands of other cubs who might have been killed. This is bigger than one life, though that one life matters deeply. This is about changing a system that was fundamentally wrong. Korval appeared at the end of the corridor. He looked defeated, smaller somehow despite his massive size. Council enforcers flanked him, but these wore different uniforms. Galactic Council Internal Affairs. Korval of the Vrix Military Command, one of them announced. You are under arrest for genocide, falsification of records, and abuse of authority. 17 other council members face similar charges. The investigation is ongoing. Korval's eyes found Hana. For a moment, something flickered in his expression. Regret? Anger? Minho couldn't tell. Then the enforcers led him away and he was gone. The crowd erupted in cheers. People hugged each other, cried, celebrated. They had stood for 14 hours and won. Not through violence, not through force, but through simple, stubborn refusal to let injustice happen. Ambassador Park turned back to Yuna. The Council has agreed to the Cross-Species Guardianship Protocol. You will retain custody of Hana. In exchange, you'll work with Vrix medical specialists to develop proper childcare guidelines for their species. Your research will be used to reform the entire breeding program. And the other cubs? Yuna asked. The ones already in military facilities? Every cub will be evaluated, Commander Jiwan said. Those who can be placed with families will be. We're going to fix this. It will take time, but we're going to fix what the Council broke. Yuna looked down at Hana and smiled through her tears. Did you hear that, little one? You're going to stay with me. You're safe now. Hana purred and nuzzled against Yuna's neck, completely trusting and content. 5 years had passed since that day. Minho walked through the corridors of what was now officially called the Cross-Species Care Center, though everyone on the station still called it the Breakfast Club because Yuna was always cooking breakfast for someone. The facility occupied an entire level of Threshold 7 now. Bright warm, filled with the sounds of children playing. Vrix cubs, Kelton younglings, human toddlers, and half a dozen other species all growing up together. Hana was in the common room, now a young Vrix about the size of a large dog. Her dark blue fur gleamed with health and her 3 eyes sparkled with intelligence and humor. She was helping a smaller Vrix cub learn to use her claws properly, demonstrating with patience and gentleness. Yuna stood nearby, watching with obvious pride. She looked healthier now, less tired. Her hair was streaked with gray at the temples, but she smiled more. Officer Minho, a small voice called. A human boy about 4 years old ran up to him. This was Sunho, the son of 2 station engineers. He came to the center every day to play with the other children. Hey, buddy, Minho said, picking up the boy. Having fun? Hana taught me a new word, Sunho said proudly. He made a chirping sound that was a decent approximation of Vrix language. It means friend. That's great, Minho said, setting him down. Sunho ran back to play with Hana and the other cubs. Jinho walked over carrying a datapad. The latest statistics came in from the Council. Vrix cub survival rates in reformed facilities are now at 92%. They're using Yuna's methods galaxy-wide. Good, Minho said. How many cubs have been placed with families? Over 300 in the last year alone. And that's just Vrix. Other species are reforming their programs too. Jinho smiled. We change things, Minho. We actually change things. Minho watched Hana playing with the younger cubs, teaching them, caring for them. She was everything the Council said Vrix shouldn't be. Gentle, empathetic, kind. And she was perfect exactly as she was. Yeah, Minho agreed. We did, one breakfast at a time. Yuna called everyone for lunch. The children rushed to the dining area, human and alien together, all friends despite their differences. Minho sat in the security office staring at his computer screen. It was late afternoon now, and his eyes hurt from reading classified files for the past 6 hours. Jinho was at another terminal across the room doing the same thing. They had left Yuna's apartment that morning with a promise to return before their shift ended. Minho told her to keep Hana inside and to not let anyone else see the cub. Yuna had agreed, though the worry in her eyes made Minho's chest hurt. "I found the disposal logs," Jinho said suddenly, breaking the silence. Minho rolled his chair over to Jinho's terminal. His partner pointed at the screen. "Someone accessed the waste disposal system on level 7 at 11:47 p.m. 3 months ago. The same night Yuna found Hana. Can you see who?" Jinho tapped a few keys. An ID code appeared on screen. Administrative level access. That means someone high-ranking. He ran the code through the security database. A name appeared, Korval. The station's Galactic Council representative. Minho felt cold. Korval was a Vrix himself, an adult who served in the Council's military command. He was one of the most powerful beings on Threshold 7 station. Accusing him of anything would be dangerous. Accusing him of attempted murder would be suicide, are you sure? Minho asked. The code doesn't lie, Jinho said. But it doesn't make sense. Why would Korval try to kill a Vrix cub? His own species. Minho thought about what Yuna had told them. About the military facilities and their 18% survival rate. About cubs who died because they weren't given the care they needed. Access the medical database, Minho said. I want to see Hana's genetic profile. Yuna said she ran scans. Those scans would be logged in the research system. Jinho hesitated. That's Yuna's private research. We're investigating, Minho reminded him. We need all the information. It took 15 minutes, but they found Hana's genetic scan in the research database. Yuna had coded it under a false sample number, but the data was all there. Minho didn't understand most of the genetic markers, but one section was highlighted in red. Bonding capable, Jinho read out loud. What does that mean? Minho pulled up a restricted file he had accessed earlier. It was a council military document about Vrix breeding programs. He found the section he was looking for and read it out loud. Vrix genetic lines are classified into 2 categories, combat suitable and combat unsuitable. Combat suitable cubs show genetic markers for aggression, independence, and loyalty to command structure. Combat unsuitable cubs show markers for bonding, empathy, and emotional attachment. Hana is combat unsuitable, Jinho said slowly. Which means the council doesn't want her, Minho finished. They only want Vrix who can be controlled, who will follow orders without question. Cubs like Hana who can form emotional bonds are considered defective. Jinho looked sick. So they kill them. They eliminate them, Minho corrected, his voice hard. Probably call it something clinical. Population control or genetic management. But yes, they kill them. He pulled up more files, his anger giving him courage to dig deeper into restricted databases. What he found made everything worse. Over the past 3 years, 12 Vrix cubs had been logged into Threshold 7 station. All 12 were listed as deceased due to natural causes within weeks of arrival. 12 cubs. All dead. All marked as combat unsuitable in their genetic profiles. This isn't just Hana, Minho said quietly. This is systematic. Korval has been killing cubs for years. We have to report this, Jinho said. His face was pale. This is genocide. This is, who do we report it to? Minho interrupted. Korval is the council representative. Station command answers to him. If we go through official channels, he'll know immediately. He'll destroy the evidence and kill Hana before anyone can stop him. They sat in silence. Outside the security office, the station continued its normal operations. People walked past, laughing and talking. They had no idea what was happening in this small room. What about Earth government? Jinho suggested. We're human. We can contact the Human Federation ambassador. That would take days, Minho said. Maybe weeks for them to investigate and act. We don't have that kind of time. Now that we've accessed these files, Korval might already know we're looking into this. Security AIs flag unusual database access. As if responding to his words, Minho's computer beeped. A message appeared on screen. His blood ran cold. Security officers Minho and Jinho are requested to report to Council Representative Korval's office immediately. Jinho saw the message too. He knows. Maybe, Minho said, trying to think fast. Maybe not. This could be routine. He might just want to ask about something else. Or he knows we found Hana and he's going to arrest us, Jinho said. Minho made a decision. Go to Yuna's apartment. Right now. Tell her what we found. Tell her Corval might know. She needs to be ready to run if this goes wrong. What about you? I'll go see Corval, Minho said. If he suspects anything, I'll play dumb. Buy us time. If I don't contact you in 1 hour, assume the worst and get Yuna and Hana off this station however you can. Minho, this is insane. Go, Minho ordered. That's an order from your senior officer. Jinho hesitated, then nodded. He grabbed his jacket and left quickly. Minho watched him go, then took a deep breath. He was about to walk into a meeting with someone who had murdered 12 cubs. Someone who wouldn't hesitate to kill humans who got in his way. He checked his weapon was charged and headed to Corval's office. The council representative's office was on the top level of the station, in a section where most humans never went. The corridors here were wider, the ceilings higher, built for larger species. Minho felt small walking through them. Corval's assistant, a thin alien with too many arms, waved Minho into the office without speaking. The door slid shut behind him with a final-sounding click. Corval stood with his back to the door, looking out a large window at the planet below. He was massive, even for a Vrix. Nearly 8 feet tall, covered in dark fur with 3 eyes that could see in multiple spectrums. His claws were retracted, but Minho knew how fast they could extend. Security Officer Minho, Corval said without turning around. His voice was deep and controlled. Thank you for coming so quickly. Sir, Minho said, keeping his voice neutral. How can I help you? I have a question about your patrol this morning. Corval finally turned around. His 3 eyes focused on Minho with uncomfortable intensity. You activated an emergency signal at approximately 6:15 a.m. in Residential Sector 7. But no report was filed. Why? Minho's mind raced. False alarm, sir. My scanner picked up unusual biological readings, but they turned out to be from a food shipment that wasn't properly sealed. Spices from Earth that registered as unknown organics. I see. Corval's expression didn't change. And this false alarm took you and Officer Jinho several hours to resolve. We wanted to be thorough, sir. Better to investigate completely than miss something important. Indeed. Corval moved closer. He towered over Minho. I appreciate thoroughness. However, I've noticed some unusual computer activity today. Someone has been accessing restricted files. Files about Vrix breeding programs, genetic classifications, and disposal protocols. Minho kept his face blank. That does sound unusual, sir. Yes, very unusual. Corval's claws extended slightly, an unconscious gesture. The access came from security terminals. Your terminals, specifically. There was no point denying it now. I was researching for a case, sir. What case? I'd rather not say until I have more information, Minho said carefully. Corval smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Let me save you some time, Officer Minho. I know you found the cub. I know she's in Dr. Kang's apartment. And I know you've been covering for her all day instead of reporting it. Minho's hand moved toward his weapon, but Corval was faster. Before Minho could blink, the Vrix had crossed the distance between them and grabbed his wrist. The grip was painful, crushing. Did you really think you could hide this from me? Corval asked. This is my station. I know everything that happens here. Why did you try to kill her? Minho managed to ask through the pain. Why kill your own species? Because cubs like that one are weak, Corval said. They grow into adults who question orders, who form attachments, who hesitate in battle. The galaxy doesn't need more weak Vrix, it needs soldiers. They're children, Minho said, they're weapons, and defective weapons must be destroyed. Corval released Minho's wrist and stepped back. Here's what will happen. You and Officer Jinho will surrender the cub immediately. Dr. Kang will be arrested, and you both will forget everything you learned today. If you comply, I'll overlook your interference. If you don't, I'll charge all 3 of you with treason. Minho's wrist throbbed. He could try to fight, but he would lose. Corval was trained military, enhanced strength, natural weapons. Minho was just a human security officer. But humans had one advantage. They were stubborn. No, Minho said. Corval stared at Minho for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was a cold, harsh sound, no? You think you have a choice in this matter? I'm not giving you Hana, Minho said. His heart was pounding, but his voice stayed steady. And I'm not letting you arrest Dr. Kang. Then you're a fool. Corval moved back to his desk and pressed something on his computer. I've just sent an order to council enforcers. They're heading to Dr. Kang's apartment right now. In 10 minutes, the cub will be in custody and the doctor will be in a cell. Your little rebellion is over. Minho pulled out his communicator and pressed the emergency broadcast button, the button that sent alerts to every security officer on the station. The button that was only supposed to be used for station-wide emergencies. All units, this is Officer Minho. Code red in Residential Sector 7. Immediate assistance needed at Apartment 7D. I repeat, immediate assistance needed. Corval's eyes widened. What did you just do? My job, Minho said. Protecting an innocent life from someone trying to harm her. He turned and ran from the office before Corval could stop him. Behind him, he heard the Vrix roar with anger. Minho didn't look back. He sprinted down the corridors, dodging surprised aliens, heading for the nearest transport lift. His communicator started beeping frantically. Other security officers responding to his call. Confusion in their voices. Asking for clarification, asking what was happening. Minho didn't answer. He just ran. The transport lift seemed to take forever. When it finally reached Residential Sector 7, Minho burst out and ran toward Yuna's apartment. He could see a crowd forming. Humans mostly. Residents who had heard the emergency alert and come to see what was wrong. Jinho stood in front of Yuna's door, his weapon drawn. Facing him were 4 council enforcers in full armor, their own weapons raised. The standoff looked seconds away from violence. Stand down, Officer Jinho, one of the enforcers said. By order of Council Representative Corval, we're here to confiscate illegal biological property and arrest Dr. Kang. No, Jinho said simply. That's an order from a council representative. I don't care, Jinho replied. You're not getting past me. Minho pushed through the crowd. I'm ordering you to stand down, he told the enforcers. Under human security protocol, I have authority to protect any resident of the human sector from unlawful detention. Unlawful? The enforcer leader said. The law is clear. Possession of a Vrix cub. Possession implies ownership, a new voice interrupted. Everyone turned. Yuna stood in her doorway, holding Hana in her arms. The cub was awake, clinging to Yuna and looking scared by all the noise. I don't own Hana, she's not property. She's a child who needs care. A child someone tried to murder, the crowd murmured. More humans had arrived, drawn by the commotion. Many of them knew Yuna. They had seen her around the station, always quiet, always kind. The idea that she was a criminal didn't match what they knew of her. Dr. Kang, the enforcer leader said, his voice slightly uncertain now. Please surrender the cub peacefully. Don't make this difficult. I'm not surrendering her, Yuna said. Her voice was calm but firm. If you want her, you'll have to take her by force. And I want everyone here to see you do it. I want everyone to see you take a terrified child from someone trying to protect her. More people were arriving. Word was spreading through the station. Humans were coming from all over the residential sector. Some brought cameras recording everything. The enforcers looked uncomfortable. This was supposed to be a simple arrest. It was turning into a public incident. I'm activating station-wide broadcast, Yuna announced. She held up her personal data pad. Everything I'm about to show will be transmitted to every terminal on Threshold 7 station. The enforcer leader's communicator beeped. He listened, then looked even more uncomfortable. Dr. Kang, Council Representative Corval orders you to cease. No, Yuna said. She pressed a button on her data pad. Every public screen in the corridor activated. Screens in apartments, screens in common areas, screens in work sectors. All of them showed the same thing. Security footage from 3 months ago. Corval accessing the waste disposal system. A sealed container being placed in the disposal unit. Timestamps. Access codes. Everything documented. Corval tried to kill Hana, Yuna said loudly, her voice carrying to everyone watching. He threw her in the waste disposal to die. I have medical scans showing her injuries, chemical analysis of the burns on her body, and genetic profiles explaining why he wanted her dead. The screens changed. Now they showed Hana's medical scans from the night Yuna found her. The burns, the organ damage, the toxicology reports. Even people who didn't understand Vrix biology could see how badly injured the cub had been. Hana was marked combat unsuitable, Yuna continued. Her genetic profile shows she's capable of bonding and empathy. The Galactic Council doesn't want Vrix like her. They only want soldiers who follow orders without question. So they eliminate cubs like Hana. They call it population management. I call it murder. More footage appeared. Records of 12 other cubs who had died on Threshold 7 over the past 3 years. All marked combat unsuitable. All dead within weeks of arrival. All signed off by Corval. The crowd was silent now. Even the enforcers had lowered their weapons slightly, staring at the screens in shock. "This isn't about law," Yuna said. "This is about power, about control, about deciding which lives have value and which don't. I saved Hana because she deserved to live, because she's a person, not a weapon, and I won't apologize for that." Hana whimpered and buried her face in Yuna's shoulder. The simple gesture of a frightened child seeking comfort was more powerful than any speech. People in the crowd looked at each other. Some were crying. "The broadcast is going beyond the station," Jinho said quietly to Minho. "I'm seeing signals. It's being picked up by ships in the system. Someone is going to relay it to Earth." Minho nodded. This was bigger than they had planned. Much bigger. But there was no going back now. A new figure pushed through the crowd. Korval himself, followed by more enforcers. He looked furious. His 3 eyes blazed with anger and his claws were fully extended. "Shut down that broadcast immediately," he ordered. "No," Yuna said again. She seemed to use that word a lot today. "You're destroying classified council records. That's treason against the Galactic Council itself." "Then arrest me for treason," Yuna said. "But everyone will see you do it. Everyone will know what you are. Everyone will know what you've done." Korval turned to his enforcers. "Arrest her. Arrest them all. Anyone who interferes will be charged with aiding a criminal." The enforcers moved forward. But so did the crowd. Humans stepped in front of Yuna's door, forming a wall of bodies between her and the enforcers. More people arrived every second. Within minutes, over 100 humans blocked the corridor. "Move," Korval ordered, "or we will use force." "Then use force," someone in the crowd said. Minho recognized him as Tae Woo, an engineer from the maintenance department. "But you'll have to go through all of us." More voices joined in, agreeing, supporting, refusing to move. Minho had seen human stubbornness before, but never like this. These people barely knew Yuna. Most had never seen a Vrix cub, but they understood injustice when they saw it. They understood right and wrong. "This is insane," Korval said. "You're risking your lives for one defective cub." "She's not defective," a woman in the crowd said. "She's a child, and we don't let children get hurt. That's not the human way." "Stand down," Korval told his enforcers. "Open fire if they don't move." The enforcers looked at each other. Some were human themselves. Others were aliens who had worked alongside humans for years. They knew these people. They had shared meals with them, laughed with them, worked with them. "I said open fire," Korval roared. One enforcer lowered his weapon. "No, sir, I won't." "What?" Korval turned on him. "I won't fire on civilians protecting a child," the enforcer said. He was human, Minho noticed. Young, maybe 25. "That's not what I signed up for." Another enforcer lowered her weapon. "Me neither." One by one, the other enforcers followed. They put down their weapons and stepped back. Even the non-human enforcers refused. They had seen the footage. They had heard Yuna's words. They understood what was really happening here. Korval stood alone, facing a wall of humans who refused to move. His claws flexed. For a moment, Minho thought the Vrix might attack the crowd himself. But even Korval wasn't crazy enough to assault over 100 unarmed civilians on camera with the whole galaxy watching. "This isn't over," Korval said quietly. His voice was cold. "The Council will respond to this. You've just declared war on the most powerful organization in the galaxy." "No," Minho said, stepping forward. "We've just showed the galaxy what the Council really is. And we're willing to stand against it?" The standoff continued. More people arrived. The crowd grew to 200, then 300. Humans linking arms, forming an unbreakable barrier, protecting one woman and one small cub who just wanted to live. Jinho stood frozen in the doorway of the kitchen. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Minho understood completely. Everything they knew about Vrix, everything they had been taught, was being challenged by the scene in front of them. Yuna slid pancakes onto a small plate and cut them into tiny pieces. She placed the plate in front of Hana with practiced ease. The cub immediately grabbed a piece with her claws and stuffed it into her mouth, purring louder. "She likes pancakes," Yuna said. She sounded tired, but there was warmth in her voice. "It took me 2 weeks to figure out the right recipe. Vrix biology needs more protein than human children, but she also needs certain minerals. I add supplements to the batter." "Dr. Kang," Minho started, then stopped. He didn't know what to say. What do you say to someone calmly making breakfast for a creature that shouldn't exist? Yuna turned to face them fully. She set down her spatula. You want to know how this happened? You want to know why I'm breaking galactic law? You want to know if I'm insane? We want to understand, Jinho finally managed to say. His voice was hoarse. Yuna pulled out a chair and sat down. She suddenly looked much older than her 30 years. 3 months ago, I was working late in the lab. I had some samples to catalog. Around midnight, I took the waste materials to the disposal sector. That's when I heard it. She paused, her eyes distant. A sound. So small, so weak. Like crying, but not quite. I almost ignored it. I almost walked away, but something made me check the disposal container. Hana finished her pancake piece and reached for another, making happy little noises. Yuna glanced at the cub with obvious affection before continuing. She was inside the waste container, barely alive. Her fur was burned by chemicals, her breathing was shallow. Someone had thrown her away like garbage. Yuna's voice hardened. She was maybe 2 weeks old. 2 weeks. And someone tried to kill her. Minho felt his stomach turn. Who would? I don't know, Yuna interrupted. I didn't think about that then. I just thought about saving her. I'm a xenobiologist. I specialize in cross-species medical care. If anyone on this station could help her, it was me. But you know the law, Jinho said. Vrix cubs are property of the Galactic Council. They're supposed to be raised in military facilities. I know the law, Yuna said flatly. I also know that law is wrong. Silence filled the kitchen. Hana had finished her pancakes and was now playing with her empty cup, rolling it between her small paws. She looked content, healthy, happy. Minho made a decision. He moved to the table and sat down across from Yuna. Tell us everything. From the beginning. Yuna studied his face for a moment, then nodded. I brought her back to my apartment. I didn't know what else to do. Taking her to the medical center would mean immediate confiscation. I treated her burns here in my bathroom. It took 3 days before she could open all 3 eyes. She stood and walked to a cabinet, pulling out a data pad. She handed it to Minho. I documented everything. Medical scans, treatment logs, nutritional needs. I knew I was breaking the law, but I'm still a scientist. I kept records. Minho scrolled through the data pad. The images shocked him. The first scans showed a creature barely clinging to life. Burns covered most of her small body. Her internal organs showed signs of toxic exposure. According to the medical AI's analysis, she had less than 6 hours to live when Yuna found her. The later scans showed steady improvement. Burns healing. Organs recovering. Growth within normal parameters for a Vrix cub. The most recent scan dated yesterday showed a completely healthy young Vrix. How did you know how to care for her? Jinho asked. He had moved closer to look at the data pad over Minho's shoulder. I didn't, Yuna admitted. Not at first. Vrix biology is classified at the highest levels. The only public information is about adult Vrix used in military operations. There's almost nothing about cubs. Almost nothing. Minho caught the qualification. Yuna's expression darkened.
I accessed some restricted databases.
Used my research credentials. What I found made me sick. The Galactic Council has been trying to raise Vrix cubs in military facilities for decades. The success rate is 18%. 18, the rest die within their first year. Why? Jinho asked. Failure to thrive, Yuna said. That's what the official reports say. But when I dug deeper, I found the real reason. Vrix cubs need bonding. They need touch, attention, care. Without it, they refuse to eat. They just stop eating and die. She walked over to Hana and gently stroked the cub's head. Hana immediately leaned into the touch, purring again. The council knows this. They've known for years. But they don't care. They want soldiers, not individuals. They consider the deaths acceptable losses. Minho felt anger rising in his chest. He had served in security for 10 years. He believed in law and order. But this wasn't law. This was cruelty disguised as policy. So you raised her yourself, he said. I adapted human childcare techniques, Yuna explained. I researched how humans raise their young and modified everything for Vrix biology. The nutritional supplements, the sleep schedules, the play activities. It worked. She's not just surviving, she's thriving. Hana chose that moment to crawl down from her chair. She wobbled over to Yuna on unsteady legs and grabbed onto her leg, making soft, chirping sounds. Yuna picked her up easily, settling the cub on her hip like a human would hold a toddler. This is why you have bruises, Minho said, understanding now. Her claws. She's still learning to retract them, Yuna said with a small smile. She doesn't mean to scratch. She's just a baby. Jinho had been quiet, staring at the datapad. Now he looked up, his face troubled. Yuna, this is incredible. What you've done is amazing. But you know we can't just walk away from this. I know, Yuna said quietly. I've known from the start that this couldn't last forever. Eventually someone would find out. I just hoped I could keep her safe a little longer. What happens if we report this? Minho asked. He already knew the answer, but he needed to hear it out loud. A council team arrives within the hour, Jinho said mechanically. They confiscate the cub. She gets sent to a military facility. According to Yuna's research, she has an 18% chance of survival, probably less since she's been bonded to a caretaker. The separation would traumatize her. And Yuna gets arrested, Minho added. The penalty for harboring a Vrix is death. No trial, no appeal. Hana had fallen asleep in Yuna's arms, her small body completely relaxed. She looked peaceful, innocent. Nothing like the weapons the council claimed Vrix were meant to be. There's another option, Minho said slowly. Jinho looked at him sharply. Minho, don't... We investigate first, Minho continued. Yuna said someone threw Hana in the disposal container. Someone tried to kill her. That's a crime. We're security officers. We should investigate crimes. That's not... Jinho started. That's exactly our job, Minho said firmly. Someone on this station attempted to murder a living being. Before we report to station command, we should have all the facts. That's proper procedure. It absolutely was not proper procedure. They all knew it. But Jinho didn't argue. Instead, he took a deep breath and nodded slowly. How long? He asked. 48 hours, Minho said. We investigate for 48 hours. We find out who tried to kill Hana and why. Then we decide what to do next. Yuna looked at them with wide eyes. You're going to help us? We're going to investigate, Minho corrected. That's all. We're doing our jobs. But even as he said it, he knew it was more than that. Looking at Hana sleeping peacefully in Yuna's arms, he knew he couldn't let them take her. He couldn't let the council kill this cub the way they had killed so many others. He just hoped they could find answers before time ran out. The morning shift always started the same way for Minho. He would check his scanner, verify his weapon was charged, and begin his walk through the residential sectors of Threshold 7 Station. Today was no different, or so he thought. The station was quiet at this hour. Most residents were still asleep in their small apartments. The artificial lights mimicked early dawn, casting soft shadows along the metal corridors. Minho liked this time of day. It was peaceful, predictable. His scanner beeped softly. Minho glanced down at the small device attached to his wrist. Biological signatures appeared on the screen, but something was wrong. These readings didn't match any approved species in the human residential sector. He stopped walking and raised the scanner higher. The readings grew stronger. Whatever made these marks was close, very close. Minho's training kicked in immediately. He switched his scanner to tracking mode and followed the signal. That's when he saw them. Small tracks on the floor, barely visible unless you knew what to look for. They weren't human. The prints showed 3 toes with sharp claws at the end. Minho felt his stomach drop. He knew these tracks. Every security officer in the galaxy knew them. Vrix. But these tracks were small, much smaller than an adult Vrix. These belonged to a cub. Minho's hand moved to his communicator without thinking. He pressed the emergency button twice, the signal for backup needed but no immediate danger. Vrix cubs weren't supposed to exist outside military facilities. The Galactic Council had strict laws about this. Very strict. Any Vrix cub found outside, official channels meant serious trouble for everyone involved. The tracks continued down the corridor. Minho followed them carefully, his heart beating faster with each step. They led past apartment 7A, past 7B, past 7C. Then they stopped at apartment 7D, Dr. Yuna Kang's apartment. Minho knew Yuna. Not well, but enough to nod hello when they passed in the corridors. She worked in the research division, something with alien biology. She was always polite, always quiet. She kept to herself mostly. He had noticed things about her lately. Bruises on her arms, a limp some mornings, dark circles under her eyes. When he asked once if she was okay, she said it was just accidents in the lab. He had believed her. Now he wasn't so sure. Footsteps echoed behind him. Minho turned to see Jinho running toward him. His partner was breathing hard, his face worried. "What's the emergency?" Jinho asked quietly. Minho pointed at the tracks. Jinho's eyes went wide. He understood immediately what they meant. "Are those—" "Yes," Minho interrupted. "Vrick's cub. The tracks end at this door." Jinho stared at the door marked 7D. "Yuna, that quiet doctor? No way. She wouldn't—" "The tracks don't lie," Minho said. He felt sick. This wasn't good. This wasn't good at all. "We need to report this," Jinho said. His voice was steady, but Minho could hear the tension in it. "Right now, to Station Command, you know the protocols." Minho did know the protocols. Call Station Command immediately. They would contact the Galactic Council representatives. A team would arrive within the hour. They would break down the door, seize the cub, and arrest whoever was hiding it. The punishment for harboring a Vrick's cub was death. No trial, no exceptions. But something made Minho hesitate. He thought about Yuna carrying sealed containers to her lab every morning. He thought about her bruises and her tired eyes. He thought about how she always smiled when she saw the human children playing in the common areas. "What if we knock first?" Minho heard himself say. Jinho looked at him like he was crazy. "Knock? Minho, this is a council-level violation. We can't just knock." "We can," Minho said. "We're security officers. We can investigate any suspected threat. That's in our authority. We knock, we assess the situation, then we report. That's proper procedure." It wasn't proper procedure, and they both knew it. But Jinho didn't argue. Maybe he was thinking the same things Minho was thinking. Maybe he also remembered Yuna's tired smile. They stood in front of the door for a long moment. Minho could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. His hand shook slightly as he raised it to knock. 3 soft knocks. Not aggressive, not demanding. Just knocks. Silence. Long, stretching silence. Then footsteps inside the apartment. Light footsteps, human footsteps. The door's security panel beeped. The lock clicked. The door opened. Yuna stood in the doorway. She was wearing an apron covered in white powder, probably flour. She held a spatula in one hand. Her hair was tied back in a messy ponytail. She looked exhausted, but not surprised. Not surprised at all to see 2 security officers at her door at dawn. She looked at Minho, then at Jinho. Her expression was calm, resigned even. She didn't ask what they wanted. She didn't pretend to be confused. "I knew someone would find the tracks eventually," she said quietly. Her voice was steady. "I tried to clean them, but Hana got out before I woke up this morning." Hana. She had named it. Yuna stepped back from the door. It was an invitation. She wasn't going to run, she wasn't going to fight. She was just going to let them see. Minho exchanged a glance with Jinho. They both knew this was the moment where everything changed. They could still walk away, call for backup, follow protocol. But somehow Minho knew they wouldn't. Not yet. He stepped through the door. Jinho followed. The apartment smelled wonderful. Pancakes, butter, something sweet. It smelled like home. It smelled nothing like what Minho expected from an apartment hiding a dangerous alien predator. Yuna closed the door behind them and walked toward her small kitchen. "I'm making breakfast," she said. "You might as well see everything." Minho followed her, his hand resting on his weapon but not drawing it. What he saw in the kitchen made him freeze completely. A Vrick's cub sat at the table in what looked like a modified high chair. The creature was small, barely reaching Minho's knee if it stood up. Its fur was deep blue, almost black, and incredibly soft-looking. It had 3 large eyes that watched them with obvious curiosity. Small claws gripped a cup with a child's drinking spout. The cub tilted its head and made a sound, not a growl or a hiss, a chirp. A happy, curious chirp. Minho stared. This was supposed to be a monster. This was supposed to be one of the galaxy's most dangerous creatures. But sitting there, eating cut-up pancakes with its small claws making happy sounds, It just looked like a child. A very strange child, but still a child. Yuna moved to the stove and flipped something in a pan. Her name is Hana, she said conversationally, as if she wasn't confessing to a crime that carried a death sentence. I found her 3 months ago. She was dying. I couldn't let her die. The cub, Hana, looked up at Yuna and purred. The sound was soft and rumbling, like a very large cat. Yuna smiled and touched the cub's head gently. Hana leaned into the touch. Minho's training screamed at him to act. His conscience told him something entirely different. This was going to be complicated.